Well, I never used to have a set list, and whenever I do a kirtan with like maybe a percussionist or a couple of percussionists and another singer or a flute player, it's always completely spontaneous. When I'm doing a kirtan with a bigger band that would include a bass player, another guitar player, and other instrumentalists, then I need to have a set list because they need to learn the music. I don't always stick to the order of the songs, but I'll always, like a week before Bhakti Fest, Mark will write me, Mark Gorman, the bass player, Jai, what songs are you planning to do so I can remember them and practice them? And likewise, Steve Postel would do that. So when there's a bigger band, there is a necessity to have a little bit more planning. But even within that, I said to the guys, I say, just listen, because there'll be many times when I'm just going to deviate from the song and just let the spirit guide. When it's just me on harmonium or guitar and a percussionist, often I'll just make up a song just then and there. I mean, I'm not making up the mantra, of course, but I'm feeling like something inside of me is calling for a certain kind of a mood or a certain kind of flavor, rasa, a certain kind of something. And I don't, off the top of my head, I can't think off the top of my head immediately of a song that I already know, a melody that I already know that will satisfy. It's almost like cooking, it's the spice needed. But I know all these ragas. I mean, I don't know them so well, but I've studied so many ragas that contain so many different moods and energies, and so I just call on that all those studies, and it's a funny thing, Ali Akbar Khan used to call Indian music, he wouldn't use the word improvisation, he would call it recomposing. Because we've learned so many traditional melodies that then when we make something up new, it's not like coming from scratch. It's coming from the millions of melodies that you've already learned. So, when I think of improvisation, the master of improvisation, it might be, I think of Jimi Hendrix, or I'll think of John Coltrane. For myself, it's more like I try to keep everything very, very spontaneous. Because the feelings of the heart can never be pre-programmed, or never be scheduled. It's our everything inside of us is spontaneous. The expression of love, the expression of sadness, the expression of joy, the expression of, all those things. They come up and you can't plan it. And thankfully, I, have and continue to have this musical training that I can sort of begin to just be able to, support spontaneously with music the feelings that are arising in that moment. And I consider that such a blessing. I mean, I just don't know how it happened, but I mostly thank, Ali Akbar Khan and Maharaji, right? And Ali Akbar Khan for giving me the musical training. And really, I was like his worst student because I still can't sit down and do a full classical concert. I don't know how. But he instilled so much music in me. And then Maharaji for everything else. I mean, not even else. I'll thank Maharaji for bringing me to Ali Akbar Khan, And so I do make stuff up a lot. And then when I'm singing something that I've sung many times before, very often in the middle I'll just go off it and I'll look to, if it's just a percussion, there's no problem. But if there's other string players or harmonic players, I just look to them, I try to show them my chord, and I say, just listen, or just say, drop out for a minute. And certainly there's times when it doesn't exactly work, when it sort of like crashes a little. But I also don't mind that. I in fact, love that. Because it knocks you back to square one. And you just got to dive again, deeper and yet again. I also feel, I could be wrong, but I do know that my way of singing kirtan and my way of making up kirtans and not repeating myself and not singing the same thing year after year, year after year, it's not satisfying for everyone. Some people really like to hear the same thing every time. And even in India, you go to some temples, you'll hear the same song sung year after year, the same melody. And you go to other temples and you'll hear the singers constantly changing the melody. Certainly one isn't better than the other, and one approach appeals to some people and doesn't appeal to other people, and that's natural. But I know that for myself, I have to always keep it alive. I cannot go into this, whether it's sitting at home singing or sitting in front of an audience singing. I can't do it as a, by the book, so to speak. It's like, okay, I'm going to sing this one, I'm going to sing this one, I'm going to sing this one, and that's just the way it is. It always has to be a bit of an entry into the unknown world. And I'll tell you, something else that happens. Sometimes, this is bizarre, but sometimes I sit in front of my harmonium, and the microphone's there, and the drummer's there, and the audience is there, and I can't think of a single thing to sing. And it's like, oh crap, is my mind completely gone? And in those moments, well, sometimes, if I'm not feeling really relaxed, sometimes I will find a melody that I've sung 1,000 times and just sing it. But more often than not, I'll just jump in, I'll fiddle around on the harmonium till I find something that kind of sounds okay, and I'll just start singing a mantra with a new melody. But again, it's a new melody that's not really new. It's a new melody based on 1,000 centuries and centuries and centuries of other melodies. But it's a funny feeling when I feel like what am I doing? I've never done this before. I have no idea. Why are these people here? What am I going to sing? And you can't get up and run off. So you got to dig in. I say, Maharaji, help out. And then I find a melody and I start singing it. So yeah, I like to keep it spontaneous. I need to keep it spontaneous. My heart needs to keep it spontaneous. There's things in life that are tedious, and I just don't want my prayer to be tedious.
Haribo, 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 Haribo. Haribo,